What is it really like living in a nation where the media becomes an instrument of power, where free speech is restricted? On October 11, 2023, the daily reading section of the People's Daily app mentioned, "Try not to use phrases like 'I'm so annoyed to death', 'I am tired to death', etc. Such words are called pitiable cries. In this country, the economy faces unprecedented challenges. The lives of ordinary citizens are becoming increasingly difficult, with shortages of liquidity, escalating internal competition, and countless homeowners losing everything due to the collapse of the housing market. Against this backdrop, the state-run media isn't covering the problems of the government, but telling citizens not to voice their hardships. This sparked immediate backlash. People questioned even expressing some grief is being controlled. Will there come a day when even the way I breathe is monitored? This is China, where the state media dictates how people should express themselves. But is this resentment, this dissatisfaction, really the fault of the citizens, or does it reflect a much larger issue? A joke circulates in WeChat moments, one that is heart-wrenching to hear. A taxi driver in Shanghai chats with a prominent lawyer in his car, saying Shanghai's economy is down and many are struggling. Driving this taxi day and night, I still can't afford to rent a house, so I live in the car. The lawyer inquired, what about showering? Do you spend 100 yuan at a foot massage place and take a shower there? The driver sighed. You have no idea what life is like for the impoverished. Picking you up from the train station today, waiting in line for over an hour, and driving you into the city. I make just over 100 yuan. After paying the platform fee, I barely make 100 yuan myself. How could I give that away for a foot massage? The lawyer probed, so where do you normally shower? The driver responded, I drive an electric car. Every time I charge it, I have to wait. So I shower for free at the charging station. Although it's cold water, it's free. And in the winter? The lawyer asked. The driver said, in winter, I just bear with it and scrub with cold water. I'm still young, in my 40s, and can endure for a few more years, but if I were older, showering in cold water would be unbearable. The lawyer sighed deeply. How can life be this harsh and difficult? With a sigh, the driver remarked, I used to wait for customers outside bars late into the night, and there were plenty around 2 or 3 in the morning. Now I hardly get any. Consumption patterns have downgraded. Even hostesses now prefer to ride shared bicycles back to their dormitories instead of taking a cab. The People's Daily, as the nation's mainstream media, should ideally be the voice for the people, covering their plight and concerns. Yet, this time, it seems they are chastising the public. This move has infuriated many netizens. One commented, does this mean no matter how hard or challenging life gets, we should just keep it to ourselves? Another user retorted, have some shame, will you? Any sense of decency left? Yet another netizen questioned, is this a blatant encouragement for self-deception? Miss Li, a teacher from Hunan, told Radio Free Asia, during the Cultural Revolution, the People's Daily was known for its falsehoods, exaggerations, and empty talk. Now they want people not to complain about hard times, which goes against basic ethics and common sense. Ms. Fang, a resident of Wuhan, added, people around me are struggling. It's only natural for them to vent. If the state-run media won't help the people, they should at least not silence them. The People's Daily seems out of touch with reality. A 59-year-old homeowner of an unfinished project lamented, I invested my retirement savings, and for the next 30 years I'll be paying the bank from my salary, ending up with possibly nothing. It makes me cry to think that I have failed my son and myself. How will my son get married? I can't even share this with my neighbors or colleagues, fearing their pity or mockery. How did I end up in such a situation at my age? The public account 3 Colors published an article refuting the party's media rhetoric. It argued that while the call from official media might seem positive, it offers no real solutions to actual problems. The article further emphasized, when faced with adversity, we should find solutions or introspect on the root cause, not resort to self-deception or glamorizing hardships to boost morale, which only conceals the truth. This is the reality of China, where the government appears indifferent to the struggles of their citizens. In China, the top echelons of the Communist Party revels in unparalleled luxury. A recent Belt and Road state banquet stands as testament. In a resplendent hall, a dining table extending over 40 meters showcased food which wasn't just about satiating taste buds, but was also artfully arranged into various scenic presentations, epitomizing opulence. It's rumored that since Xi Jinping took office, the cost of every state banquet has surpassed the total expenses of 4 years of US presidential banquets. Some netizens sharply commented that the expense of such regal banquets probably comes from poverty elevation funds. On the streets, an elderly man holds a bucket, sipping noodles from it. The delivery boy, hit by a car, chose not to seek medical treatment due to a lack of funds. He said, "My life isn't worth much." He was adopted as a child and then abandoned at 16. These ordinary people seem to be forgotten by the elites in the golden hole. In China, the freedom taken for granted in the West seems like a luxury. Chinese people are confined and shackled by the household registration system, government policies, and urban-rural disparities. Farmers yearn to move to cities for better opportunities, yet they face not only governmental restrictions but also discrimination from urban residents. In such an environment, freedom is not merely a word, but a distant dream. In China, the number of people with a monthly income of 20,000 is astonishingly low, only 700,000. In a country with a population of over 1 billion, this translates to 5 in every 10,000. Yet such an income in Japan or South Korea would barely suffice for basic living. The number of individuals earning 50,000 yuan a month is even scarcer, with only 5 in every 100,000, totaling around 70,000. Such an income level in other East Asian developed countries would only be enough for basic sustenance, with major expenses like buying a car or a house being nearly impossible. This is the income bracket of intellectuals within the system. A university professor or a provincial professional writer would earn about 10,000 yuan a month, with an annual income around 100,000 RMB. Only a few renowned scholars can augment their earnings through book publications or speaking engagements. According to the latest data, Shanghai boasts the highest minimum wage in China, amounting to 2,690 yuan or approximately $370. Globally, the average minimum wage stands at 9,750. China's minimum wage is a mere 3% of the world's average, ranking it second to last among 75 countries and regions. Yet the tax burden in China is not light. Fiscal revenue has skyrocketed 30 times in 20 years, with an average annual growth rate of 19.5%, surpassing the GDP growth rate. However, these revenues are primarily channeled into administrative expenses. China's administrative expenses constitute a whopping 38% of the total, dwarfing other nations. In stark contrast, the US has administrative costs below 10%, while Germany's is a mere 2.7%. China's high administrative expenses have hamstrung welfare spending. In terms of fiscal allocation for health, China's spending is just a third of India's and a fifth of the US. On welfare and social security, while the US, Germany, and Russia allocate 55 to 60% of their fiscal expenditures, China allocates a mere 15%. Property prices in China are on par with the US, but there's a vast discrepancy in wages. The median property price in the US stands at $230,000, which can purchase a house around 250 square meters in size. In contrast, the median price per square meter in China is 17,000 yuan, with an average property size of 110 square meters. This sums up to approximately 1.9 million yuan, or roughly 260,000 US dollars. However, the median annual income in China is only 4,520, compared to the United States, where it stands at 20,000. This implies that China's minimum hourly wage is a mere 23% of that in the US, yet housing prices in China can be comparable to, if not higher than those in the US. Netizen just that. Unless you belong to the elite, wealthy, or are a celebrity, to afford a 100 square meter house in Beijing priced at 3 million yuan, a farmer would need to have started working from the Tang Dynasty, a laborer from the Opium War in 1840, working continuously without weekends, and a white-collar worker from 1960 with an annual salary of 60,000 yuan. This gaping disparity between housing cost and income is merely the tip of the iceberg regarding wealth inequity in China. A staggering 99% of China's wealth is controlled by just 1,500 CCP prince-selling families. Of the remaining populace, nearly 1 billion earn less than 2,000 yuan a month, of which 600 million earn less than 1,000 yuan. In such a society with profound wealth disparity, how can the rising tide of discontent be suppressed? In China, the salary of a civil servant is 6 times the minimum wage, whereas globally it is only double. Even more shocking, the salary of executives in state-owned enterprises in China is 98 times the minimum wage, far exceeding the global average of 5 times. The wage disparity in various sectors in China reaches up to 3,000%, a stark contrast to the global average of 70%. Even after numerous reforms and embracing globalization, China continues to grapple with poverty. A key contributing factor is the absence of a strong rule of law. In The Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith believes that China during the era of Marco Polo had reached its peak of prosperity within its legal limitations. Without advancing its legal framework, the nation risked economic decline. Renowned Chinese economist Wu Jinglian underscores the need for a robust rule of law within the market economy, asserting that only through a well-established legal system can consistent economic growth be guaranteed. Indian economist Amartya Sen believes that national industrial growth requires freedom as a prerequisite. Freedom is not only the catalyst for economic development, but its ultimate goal. If the Chinese live in an environment devoid of rule of law and freedom, how can they genuinely share in the economic benefit and attain their rightful wealth? The economic woes and societal injustices in China transcend what cold statistics can portray. Behind them lies a deeper issue intricately tied to the policies and decision-making blunders of the CCP government. These mistakes have thrust the vast majority into material deprivation. What's more disheartening is that instead of voicing the concerns of its people, the People's Daily warns them against expressing dissatisfaction and fear. Under this dual oppression, the simmering discontent of the Chinese populace is akin to a dormant volcano, accumulating pressure and awaiting eruption. When it does, it may trigger profound societal upheaval.